Hey guys, it's Phaedra from All Things Phaedra, and does it look like I'm in prison right now? I am, actually, but I'm in downtown Philadelphia, which is the home of Eastern State Penitentiary. This is one of the most famous, historic, and expensive prisons that operated from 1829 until just about 1970-71. And it sat for many years vacant, became an urban jungle, and then they decided to create a bit of a tourist attraction so that this history wouldn't be lost. If you're in Philadelphia, it's worth a quick tour. If you are not near Philadelphia, well, come along with me because I'm going to show you why they call it a penitentiary, because it is all about inspiring penitents. Just off of Fairmount Street in downtown Philadelphia, you'll find what looks like a castle. And you'll know it's a prison by the large stone walls. This actually takes up an entire city block. And you can get free street parking on the side of the penitentiary. And on the way in, you can take in some sights like this beautiful community garden. But you'll buy tickets outside, and then once you get inside the walls, they give you a sterilized personal device so you can listen to an audio tour. It will direct you exactly where you need to go. So you come inside, you go off to the right, and the great thing is it's narrated by Steve Buscemi, who just feels like the right voice for this. Inside, they'll tell you about its tower structure, how there are no windows anywhere, and then it takes you right into cell block 1. Upon entering the prison, the first thing that they do is give you a little bit of history about prisons and what they were like back in the early 1800s. And it was basically a big holding tank for a lot of the hellions. And this was a new model of prison. It was all about isolation. So each door that you see here represents an individual cell. And back in the day, those actually weren't doors. They were small holes that they called feeding holes. This is what the inside of one of the cells looks like. Like I said, it sat in disrepair for many, many years, so you still see the remnants of the original cells, but you can see some of the renovated rooms and get a sense of what the cells were really like. In this section, you'll see what it would actually have looked like back in the day. You'll see those feeding holes on the wall, and then you get to look inside what the cell looked like. Now, this is interesting. So the prisoner could not enter or exit from the hallway. Their only entrance or exit was from that small door in the back of the cell, which led to an individual walled courtyard, and it was through the courtyard that they were placed into the cell. Now, the idea was to isolate people not so much as punishment, but as penitence. It was said to give people the time to reflect on their crime. So not only did they have to stay isolated, some prisoners stayed there for up to 2 years without seeing another living soul, including a guard. They weren't allowed to speak to each other either. So a couple times, a few prisoners were caught trying to speak to each other through the cracks in the doors, and they were immediately dealt with. You'll also see the only source of daylight in the cell. The walls are definitely crumbling, but they do a good job of preserving, and you can follow the rest of the cell block all the way to the hub. So this was a hub and spoke model with each cell block converging right here in the center. Now, because these isolated prisoners took up so much space, it was a costly prison. So much to the original designer's chagrin, they did in later cell blocks create those that had a second story. So this was not part of the original prison right here, but I'll tell you, it looks kind of spooky. And while we're up here, let me mention that for many years, they offer a terror tour right around October. They're now doing night tours for now, but imagine this place at night. Kind of creepy. It's kind of creepy during the day. Back down in the hub, they actually have a plaque that honors the men and women that served in the armed forces and even one that died, only identified by their inmate number. Down another cell block that actually has 2 stories, you'll listen to voice recordings of actual prisoners and guards from the 20th century that talked a little bit about what it was like to live in the prison in later years. And they had basketball teams and they had singing quartets and so on. But despite the accounts, the prisoners that were released made it clear that they never wanted to return. In fact, at the end, they pay homage to all of them, and you even see that one guard became a prisoner there. The end of the tour takes you out into the yard and gives you a chance to walk through an exhibit on modern-day prison structure. One of the biggest attractions, though, is Al Capone's cell. So this is where Al Capone actually served his first prison sentence for carrying a concealed weapon. And they've recreated his cell based on some of the things that they have found, paint chips and so on, to what they think it looked like. It was not the typical prison cell, and I'm sure his 2 years spent there were actually quite comfortable. So right behind me, that's the guard tower, and I'm here out in the yard. And I'm happy to say that my time in prison was brief and informational, and I am getting ready to walk out that door a free woman. So thanks for joining me. If you have any questions about Eastern State Penitentiary, what you can do here as a tourist, what you can see, and what they offer in some of the scarier times of year, be sure to check out the article on my blog. Leave me a comment, ask me a question. More importantly, give this video a like so that I know that you like it, and be sure to subscribe so you can come back for more cars, travel, and entertainment just like this. Thanks, guys.